Hey there guys, what's up? It is Autobot Mike 18 here with another movie review. Guys, I know this review is a little late, but in this video I am going to be reviewing Seth MacFarlane's second live action feature film and his second directorial debut, and that film is A Million Ways to Die in the West. I know guys, that title is a mouthful. That is the same thing I said when I first heard that was going to be the title of his next film. I said, wow, he's going to call it that? Damn, that's a long title. But anyway guys, yes, I finally got a chance to see A Million Ways to Die in the West. I did not get a chance to see it this past weekend. It came out Friday, and I didn't get a chance to see it opening day or opening weekend. I had a really big weekend. A lot of things going on in my personal life that I'm not going to get into right now. Some of you know what happened to me over the weekend, which is fine. That's great. However, no matter whether you know or you don't know what I went through this weekend, it was just really stressful and yeah, so that is why I didn't get a chance to see A Million Ways to Die in the West until now. I saw it today, Bargain Tuesday. I went today, the earliest showing, the 10 o'clock a.m. showing. I know, I woke up that early to go see Seth MacFarlane and the rest of his cast on the big screen, and I went, there was absolutely no one in the theater. I was the only one in my auditorium watching A Million Ways to Die in the West, which was pretty funny, actually. I don't remember the last time I was the only one in a theater. It's been a while. But anyway, yes. So I finally got a chance to see the movie today, guys. And I went today, Tuesday, especially of all days, because I didn't hear the best things about this. Now, this is Seth MacFarlane's second directorial debut. His first was Ted, and this is his first film where he has been given a live-action role. From between his creation of Family Guy till now, he has never been in a live-action film before or had a live-action performance. He's only done voice work for Family Guy, and then he did voice work for Ted when Ted came out 2 years ago. Now, this is his first live-action role, so a lot of people were skeptical about whether or not he was going to give a good performance in the movie because it was his first live-action performance. And when the trailers first came out, I said, oh, the movie actually doesn't look too bad. Then I started watching them over and over again, and I said to myself, oh, man, I hope this is going to be as good as Ted was. I think it will be, but we just have to wait and see. So, in the end, guys, and then the reviews started coming in, and forget about it. People start bashing the film. It's gotten some really bad reviews. My fan keeps blowing my poster, so I'm going to hold it right here for you guys. Hopefully it won't blow it over here. So anyway, yeah, so the reviews started coming in. They weren't that great. And a lot of people weren't happy with the movie. Now, guys, after having seen the movie, I can confirm for myself that the movie isn't actually as bad as some people are saying it is. I'm actually surprised that some people hated on the movie as much as they did. Yes, there are definitely some flaws in A Million Ways to Die in the West. This is not a perfect movie by any stretch of the imagination. This movie definitely has its flaws, namely in the writing department. But I am going to say this much. I actually enjoyed a couple scenes in the movie, and there were some pretty good jokes that came out of this Western comedy. It wasn't as terrible, because I had low expectations going into this movie because of all the bad things people have been saying about it, but it actually wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. It was actually pretty decent. So I have to give Seth MacFarlane that much. Anyway, guys, let's get right into the review. First thing I'm going to start talking about is the premise of A Million Ways to Die in the West. The film is set in Arizona in 1882, of course, during a time when there was no technology, none of that, so this is something Seth MacFarlane has pretty much never done before. I don't know if he's ever done something like this on an episode of Family Guy, but, you know, he's doing a movie set in 1882, and it's a Western comedy, and you could tell it's got some modern touches to it. But anyway, Seth MacFarlane in this movie plays a sheep farmer. He's been a sheep farmer his whole life. He lives in he lives on this farm right outside this small town, and his girlfriend, played by Amanda Seyfried, breaks up with him, breaks his heart, crushes him, and at some point during the middle of the movie, he comes across a vicious, cruel gunslinger outlaw played by Liam Neeson, and Liam Neeson is not pleased with Seth MacFarlane for one specific reason that I won't spoil. Let's just say this much, that there are two of them are going to get involved in a gunfight, and Seth MacFarlane cannot shoot to save his own life. So at some point, he meets Charlize Theron's character, who helps him to shoot. You know, they practice with each other, and she also starts to help him get over that breakup he had to deal with from Amanda Seyfried. Also, not to mention, Seth MacFarlane has two friends, both played by Giovanni Ribisi and Sarah Silverman. I hope I said his name right. And the two of them are dating. Sarah Silverman plays the town prostitute, and Giovanni Ribisi plays her boyfriend. He really wants to have sex with her. She doesn't want to because she's a Christian. I know, there's a lot of things going on in this movie, but it's not like it's complex or anything. So that is basically the premise behind A Million Ways to Die in the West. And let me just say this much. You'll watch the trailer for the movie, and then you'll watch the actual movie, and you'll say to yourself, wow, the trailer did a good job. It really doesn't spoil what's really going on in the film, because there is something else going on in the movie for a good chunk of like the beginning and the middle that isn't spoiled in the trailers at all. So I'm not going to really mention it here. It involves Neil Patrick Harris, though. That's all I'll say. He's also in the movie. And let me say this much about A Million Ways to Die in the West, guys. It was a movie that had some jokes that really hit for me. You know, there were some cameo appearances that worked for me, and there were some jokes that actually ended up working. Some jokes that I laughed at, got a few chuckles out of me, the movie. And comedies nowadays, unless they're really, really good, unless they're 21 Jump Street good, are very hard to do that. And I'll say A Million Ways to Die in the West actually had a few moments where the jokes worked. However, there were definitely the moments where it had some lazy writing and some lazy jokes thrown in there. You definitely have that in this movie. And there was a few other handful of flaws that I had with this movie. I'm sorry, guys, I'm checking my phone. Another thing that I do want to mention about the story of A Million Ways to Die in the West is, and I think I teased this earlier, it's not like it's something we've never seen before. The overall story of what's going on in this film with Seth MacFarlane's character and the fact that he's dealing with this breakup or whatever, and there's this, antagonist played by Liam Neeson. We've seen this before. We've seen it a million times before. A Million Ways to Die in the West. We've seen something like this before, so it's not like it's not like this is a completely original piece of filmmaking, because it's definitely not. Yes, it is westernized. It's set in the West, so there's a lot of things they can't do. It's not set in the modern day, but it's basically, it's got, the story you'd see in a romance movie, about how you break up with someone, you crush your heart, and then you get with another girl and you try to make that other person jealous. We've seen that a million times before. So they're not completely original with the film, which is another kind of knock I had on it. But other than that, I'll talk more about the story, a little bit more about the story later on. Right now, I want to briefly get into the cast, guys. The one saving grace of the movie is the ensemble cast. The movie definitely has a very impressive ensemble cast. With Seth MacFarlane at the head, you also have Charlize Theron, you have Giovanni Ribisi, like I said, Sarah Silverman, Amanda Seyfried, Neil Patrick Harris, and of course Liam Neeson. And that is a very impressive cast. And I'll get into Seth MacFarlane's performance because that was the one a lot of people were worried about. Overall, I am going to say that the performances in the movie were pretty good. Liam Neeson can star in anything, and he's automatically good in it. He's just such a good actor. He's great in this, even though he's more of an antagonist in this movie, and as compared to other roles he's had, he's definitely very, very good in the movie. Charlize Theron was pretty good. Giovanni Ribisi was actually pretty good playing this, kind of like quiet, nervous friend of Seth MacFarlane, very innocent, let's just put it that way. And I thought he did very good. Sarah Silverman was pretty good and very nice to look at, I must admit. Amanda Seyfried was Amanda Seyfried. Amanda Seyfried and Sarah Silverman were kind of there, kind of like our eye candy, even though they did good jobs. Neil Patrick Harris did a good job. Now, getting into Seth MacFarlane, I am going to say his acting definitely improved in the second and third acts of the film. First act of the movie, there is literally this scene where Seth MacFarlane is talking to Giovanni Ribisi and Sarah Silverman, and he's knocking off all the ways that are terrible, all the ways you can die in the West. okay? We've seen in the trailers, that scene went on for like a minute and a half, and he's literally listing all these ways. And I think that they needed to add more cuts into that scene, because I think MacFarlane had way too much to memorize to get all those lines out, and that honestly kind of led to a bit of a downfall for him, because his acting was kind of off in that scene and in a few other scenes in the first half. Other than that, I thought he definitely improved a bit as the movie progressed. By the end of the film, I was like, okay, he gave a decent performance. Definitely could use an acting lesson here or there. I would definitely recommend he sticks with voice acting, as he's been so good at that. Without a doubt, he's a great voice actor. It's just live action. This is his first role, so you know what? You got to give him a little credit. Cut him some slack. That's what I did. Just that is something I did want to make known. Other than that, moving on, guys, it is time for me to get into my official score, my rating for A Million Ways to Die in the West. What can I say? I ended up mildly enjoying the film despite the flaws it had, the flaws that I am going to mention right now. And in the end, I am going to give A Million Ways to Die in the West a 7.5 out of 10, which is a pretty decent score considering the fact that it's got like a 30-something on Rotten Tomatoes. A lot of people have been going C-, some people have been giving it a D. I'm probably around C+, it's just a regular C, okay? It's not a bad movie. It's definitely not a extraordinary movie, though. It definitely has its handful of flaws. As for the pros, like I've been mentioning, the fact that the film was set in the West and it kind of took MacFarlane out of his comfort zone. He kind of did something he's never really necessarily done before. You know, not many filmmakers, when they're working on their second film, will just go and make a film set out in the West, you know, in the 1800s, in 1882. So I gotta give Seth MacFarlane, I gotta give him credit for that. That's pretty impressive to do. To jump from a comedy about a teddy bear, a live-action teddy bear, a CG teddy bear, set in the modern days, to a film set in the West, in 1882, I gotta give him credit for that. That's pretty impressive. So good job, Seth MacFarlane. And he did do a very good job directing the movie. A lot of people have been like, not that great of a direction from him. I thought he did great with Ted, and he did a pretty good job directing A Million Ways to Die in the West as well. The cinematography was pretty good in the movie too. You know, there were several shots he set up, and you can tell they definitely paid off. There's a few shots of the sunset. All that looks really good. Shots in the town. Thought were pretty impressive. There's a dream sequence that was kind of odd, but it was overall well done. The ensemble cast was great. Apart from what I said about MacFarlane earlier, I thought that everyone gave a good performance. All of their presence was very good. The cast all did a great job, and they definitely were committed to the project and committed to those roles that they had, and I got to give them props for that. As for the writing, while there are definitely flaws to be had with the writing of the film, I am going to say that some jokes definitely hit, and some definitely got a few chuckles out of me. I'm not saying this is the funniest movie of the year, because it's not. That definitely goes to Neighbors so far. But A Million Ways to Die in the West definitely got me to laugh a few times, and I was definitely pleased in those scenes where I did end up laughing. There were several cameo appearances. There was one cameo appearance, I'm not going to spoil it, in the third act of the film, right in the beginning of the third act of the film, right when Liam Neeson is angry with Seth MacFarlane for an important reason, there is a cameo that just killed me. I was literally laughing a minute into the next scene. I couldn't control myself. And it honestly wasn't even that funny. It just, it cracked me up for some reason. I don't know why. And there were a few other really good cameo appearances as well. But overall, I'd say most of the jokes were fine, got a few chuckles out of me. And then there were the other half of the jokes, they had problems. Moving on, though, I also really was impressed by the soundtrack. It definitely has that that's the soundtrack/score. It definitely has that Seth MacFarlane-ish feel to it. You know, it kind of feels like you're watching an episode of Family Guy. And, you know, with the way that the score sounded. But I liked the way that, I did like the score. And there are a few other elements where you can compare this movie to Family Guy, but I always enjoyed Family Guy. You can't say Seth MacFarlane is basically recreating Family Guy for the big screen. He's not. There are some aspects, some elements of this film that are similar to Family Guy in that sense. Namely, you know, things get over-violent too quick in one scene, you know. You have all these cameo appearances. That happens in Family Guy, so there's that. But Ted felt way much more like Family Guy as compared to Million Ways to Die in the West. Now, as for the cons of the movie, like I already said, not all of the jokes hit. You got some pee and poop jokes in there, some jokes that just, you could tell the writers just didn't know really what to do, so they just threw a pee and a fart joke or a poop joke in there. It's not like Grown Ups 2 or anything like that. Don't worry about that. It's not like that at all. But I'm just making it known that, you know, as for the writing, it definitely needed work. Had the movie been a lot more well-written, had they worked on the plot, had they made it more original, because it definitely wasn't that original, had it been a little less lazy in a few scenes, because it was lazy in a few scenes, the movie did start to drag in a few scenes, you could tell. You could tell that the jokes just weren't hitting in a few scenes for me. And that's why I ultimately had a few problems with the writing mostly. And it was mostly the jokes that all the jokes that didn't hit, which is why I had problems with them. Like I said, Seth MacFarlane, and especially in the first act, his acting was okay. It just definitely needs work, though. And that's pretty much it. A lot of people were complaining about the running time in the movie. I didn't have a problem with that, really. Running time wasn't a problem. It was a little long, but nothing too serious. Another thing about the jokes, they aren't all that memorable, okay? This isn't one of those comedies you're going to go to and remember it for the years and years to come. It's one of those movies you're going to go to, you're going to enjoy it for the time being, but that's it. There's nothing you're going to remember about it, nothing specifically. So that's really all I have to say about A Million Ways to Die in the West, guys. It's not a fantastic film, but it's a decent film. It's not as bad as some people are making it out to be. So 7.5 out of 10 for me, guys. I would say either rent it or catch it on a bargain Tuesday like I did. It's worth $7.50 in my opinion. It's not that bad. It's pretty decent. Not the strongest summer movie, but a decent one. So thank you guys so much for watching my review. If you guys did see A Million Ways to Die in the West, leave me your thoughts on it down below in the comments. Thanks again for watching my movie review, guys. Bye.